is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a pivotal update here in regards to Black Knight and how you can actually get his unlock in the coming weeks here, guys. Now, some pretty important data mines to go over just because we need to start preparing now, especially with the way they set up some of these events being back-to-back. If we're not aware, you may very well fall back in unlocking ultimately Black Knight free to play, but as well falling into the traps that the game and developers have intentionally set up so that way we get our resources constrained. So guys, if you recall, what you see on screen right now is the Seeing Red monthly event where we're obviously working towards the unlock of Red Goblin, as well as this is the first confirmation that we saw originally here with Black Knight's avatar that the Red Letter Day solo event on February 26th. This is ultimately for his unlock. Well, we now have some pretty good and solid data mines and how that event's going to be, but as well as what we can do today to prepare for that. So I just want to give you a quick recap in regards to some of the events leading up to that date, and it's important because all of it's going to be tying back together. On February 19th, which is about a week before Black Knight's release, there are two events that are going to be live officially for the milestones. The Paint the Town Red and as well as Red Blooded. Paint the Town Red is essentially gaining progress by spending power cores. In addition to that, you'll also be opening red ruby orbs earned from the Red Handed milestone. So why is this one important? Well, it's important because there's actually some notable portions here of Red Goblin shards. And ultimately you can probably get his unlock if you're able to capitalize on this event. Now, we don't know what this breakdown is going to be, but it is an event specifically featuring Red Goblin shards. So there should be a decent amount, especially if there's an opportunity also to include Superior 6 characters. The Red Handed milestone is in addition to the kind of similar to what we're doing right now, which is earning war credits. Straightforward, nothing too crazy there, which is nice, but the important thing to note for this is the big potential trap is the spending of power cores. It may actually leave you, with less wiggle room to actually go for Black Knight's unlock. We need to be very, very cautious with this event. Unfortunately, we don't have the breakdown on how this is set up yet, but you bet I'm going to be giving you guys an update once we see what this information looks like. I suspect it'll probably be in this week's Marvel Strike Force blog post. And following that, there's the Red Blooded Alliance milestone here, also starting on the 19th, gaining alliance progress by spending incursion campaign energy, ISO 8 campaign, and as well as allied supply orb fragments, which typically come from the daily free claims. This includes some TO, gold, gear 16-18 orbs, and as well as obviously the monthly Carnage symbiote vials. So not a big deal, but why am I pointing out this event? Well, it's also tied back to another potential event that's going to conflict here, which is the spending of incursion energy. They're doing back-to-back incursion energy events, so it's extremely important to not only be conservative in terms of how many resources you want to be using for this event, but as well being mindful that shortly after Red Blooded, that is actually when Black Knight's event is going to start. And that's why this is all tied together, is because I suspect that these events are placed essentially right before Black Knight, so that way our resources are going to be constrained and we will not be in the most ideal position. And I don't like the setup because it's awkward in the sense that they're putting an alliance event right before another event that's also tied back to incursion energy, which is tied back to Black Knight's unlock. So here, this is probably going to be more clear once I show you the data mine here specifically for Black Knight. So his event, Red Letter Day, starting exactly a week after, you're gaining progress by earning these cold-blooded orbs, and it's the first time we see this tied back to S.W.O.R.D Satellite. So great news, S.W.O.R D Satellite is coming back. It was a very fan favorite game mode, and I'm excited to see how far we can go, but there's going to be cold-blooded orb fragments tied back to the milestones. There's a jam sandwich web milestone. In addition to that, also blitzing and the free claims, all going to add up to these cold-blooded orbs. Ultimately, each of these orbs having a chance of up to 10 shards of Black Knight. So there's some decent RNG there, but this is how you're going to ultimately unlock this 100 shard character going through this event respectively. Now, the daily jam milestone that's tied back to the web is also going to be spending of incursion energy. So this is how you're going to get additional cold-blooded orbs and adding additional milestone points to Red Letter Day. And the reason I pointed out the power cores before, guys, is because, there's going to be an event tied back right to it the week before, which is the spending of power cores. So you want to be mindful of how much you're using, because if you're using too many power cores for Paint the Town Red, well, guess what? You're not going to have an opportunity to use power cores to generate additional incursion campaign energy for the daily jam milestone. And typically, we see that the web milestones have a huge, notable portion of points getting added. I would even argue typically 1/3 of the milestone that we're working on. So you definitely want to have power cores to be ready to be utilizing. Otherwise, it's pretty bare bones because of how slow this incursion campaign does generate energy. It doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room for here to push higher. So this is definitely something I'm going to be considering, especially being free to play. I want to unlock Black Knight as soon as possible, and that may very well mean me banking a bunch of incursion campaign energy to start next week's event, but as well as even the red letter day included here. So that's why it's important, guys. It's all tied back together, and again, they typically do this for a really heavily coveted character, especially knowing now Black Knight is upgraded through dark promotion credits, which means he's going to be one of the few exception characters that are not farmable, that you can maximize the 7 yellow stars within 6 months of his release. We likely will see this data for quite some time, similar to what we're seeing with Big Time Spider-Man, where his shards aren't really available as well before it was through the raids. So guys, big takeaways here on how to prepare, especially if you're free to play like myself. First and foremost, I'm going to be going through and reviewing all my blitz teams because it's going to be very important. To capitalize on the red letter day, you need to make sure that you're also blitzing, and the wins are going to be the only way to add points as well. So we have blitzing, we have source satellite, we have this mixture here of the free claims and as well as spending incursion campaign energy. So all of it's very, very important, especially if you want the unlock here. Now, next over, I want to save and conserve my incursion campaign energy as much as I can. So you really do need to decide how much you want to help your alliance event versus the Black Knight solo event. Now, obviously, once we have the details on how that's going to be charted, I'm going to take a look at seeing what we can maximize free to play. But I am definitely going to be leaning more on obviously Black Knight's event because this could be a very rare instance that we get his unlock, and we need to absolutely take advantage of that. Moreover, make sure you guys are saving power cores for the additional campaign energy refreshes. What we've seen from these milestones is that they don't typically tend to be generous, and you do need to be smart and strategic in how you're managing the resources. Again, it's a management resources game, so I expect nonetheless from them in terms of restricting and confusing us. What we saw with Void Knight and Gwen's event were super easy, but you need to fully understand the events to capitalize. But rest assured, guys, I'll make sure to make updates on this so that way you know how to best min and max this, especially if you're not spending, especially if you're free to play. And lastly, guys, I just want to spend some time talking about how Black Knight is going to change the meta. Absolutely, everyone's going to be adding him onto defensively. He's going to be part of the War, Arena, Crucible meta. This character is definitely going to be a meta and game changer, so we absolutely need to capitalize on every single shard we can get, especially since he is a 100 shard unlock as well, similar to Red Goblin. So there you guys have it. That's how I'm going to be preparing with these 4 steps, but as well being very mindful of these back-to-back events. And it's a darn shame because Red Goblin's also a 100 shard unlock, same with Black Knight, so we are having to pick and choose a little bit here, but I'll keep you guys up to date on best how we can maximize. This is just a heads up for you guys. Do not make this mistake, as these are huge traps that they're waiting for us to do, especially when they set them up back-to-back. We definitely need to be aware and planning ahead. So hopefully this helps you guys, and hopefully you watch this beforehand to prepare. Thank you for your time as always, you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.